What is up? My name is Ben Taylor. Welcome back to HTML2. We're going to get a little bit more complicated with HTML, and it's going to be super fun. I hope you're excited. What I've gone ahead and done is I've set up a folder for this project. It's called Image Map. Go ahead and create a folder called Image Map. Create a folder within it called Images, and I want you to go out and find an image of something. I found this robot here. I'm just going to double click, open it up in Paint, and this is my little robot character. And what we're going to do is create an image map in HTML so that when we hover over something, we can click on it and possibly get more information or send us to a link. So I'm pretty excited about it. Go ahead and find yourself an image, and then as a challenge, you can pause the video here and start setting up a brand new HTML document, or if you don't remember how, totally cool, we'll go ahead and get started. So I've got Notepad++ opened up here. As you know, we start out with our doc type declaration, like that, HTML. And then we go ahead and create HTML tags, and we close them. Then we'll create a head and a body, just like that. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and give our page a title here in the head. I'm going to title mine Robo Warrior, because I can tell he's got a spicy side. Okay, Robo Warrior, done. So what we're going to do in this lesson, something a little bit differently than we did last time. Last time we created style tags. This time we're actually going to link to a style sheet. Okay, so here's how we're going to do that. We're going to create a link tag, type equals text slash CSS, relationship, or REL, equals style sheet. Just like that. And then we give it an href, and we're going to create a file. So I'm just going to create mine and call it style.css. We're still going to need to create that file, but I'll just go ahead and title it style.css. Now right now we have not saved, so this document doesn't know it's HTML, if you remember, right? That's why nothing is colored. So what I'm going to do is save it right now, and it's very important to save and save often. So if you remember, we go save as, and we don't do text, we do HTML, hypertext markup language, right there. So I need to go ahead and navigate to my folder. I have a lot of folders. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and save it right in here. I'm going to call it image map. And I camel cased. Okay, it's saved. There we go. Now it knows it's HTML and it's coloring it correctly. So now we need to create this style sheet over here separately. So I'll go File, New, and I'll just go ahead and select the body and give it a background color. I'm thinking light blue. But first, why don't we go ahead and File, Save As. This needs to be saved as a CSS document. Okay, so cascading style sheets right here, .css. Make sure to select that, otherwise it's not going to work right. Go ahead and hit that. You can save it right in the same folder with your HTML file, and I'm going to call it style.css because you remember I named it style.css. So I'll hit save. Okay, and now it knows it's a CSS document. So we can test this and see if it's working. I'm going to hit save, save, and as you remember, run. I'm going to launch it in Chrome, and we should get a blue background. Yep, there we go. Blue background. I've got my Robo Warrior title. This is looking great. And the beautiful thing about this is we have linked to an external style sheet. Yep, that's right. So now we can put all our style information in this document over here, and it keeps our HTML document much cleaner and easier to read and smaller. So that is amazing. You'll definitely be doing this in your next assignment. So that's important to note. Sometimes people link up to multiple style sheets for different things. So you'll see on some websites there'll be a lot of different style sheets they're linked up to. Okay, so let's get going with this image map. So hopefully you picked out an amazing image. I'm going to go ahead and put mine in here in the body. If you guys remember how the image tag works, it's image, and then you have to give it a source equals /images/ what did I name my Robo Man? Robot. And he is a PNG file. How do I know that? I could right click and go Properties, and PNG image. Okay, but I already knew that. So images slash robot.png. Okay, just like that. Let's go ahead and test our site. I'll go back over and refresh. There we go. Perfect. Robot.png is loaded. Now I want everything centered. How many of you guys remember how to center everything? Hopefully some of you guys remember. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put style equals text align center. Save it, go back, refresh. Okay, nothing happened. Not a problem. That just shows us that we need to figure something out. So I actually know what the problem is. I'm going to go ahead and take this style text align center here, cut it, and I'm actually going to put it on the HTML tag here. Now watch what happens. I'm going to refresh this page, and boom, perfect. That's what I want right there. So sometimes you just have to mess around and figure things out in HTML, and if you enjoy doing that, you're going to enjoy coding. Okay, so let me also show you that we don't have to put this here on this HTML tag. Remember, we have an external style sheet. So if we just go over here to this style.css, and if we just go HTML, we can go ahead and paste that right here, except for we need to get rid of this style equals here. And now we should go back to our page, refresh, and it still works. Awesome. Okay, let's get into our image mapping. First, I want to give this thing a header. So we'll go h1 robo helper. Perfect. You can name her something cooler than that for extra points, because robo helper just sounds lame. Maybe by the end of this tutorial I'll come up with something cooler to name them. So we've got our image in here. Now we need to make it an image map. So we're actually going to use an attribute for that called useMap. UseMap equals robomap. Now when I do this here, that means it's an ID. So I'm going to have to create this ID on an image map somewhere. Okay? So I haven't created that yet, but I'm about to create it right underneath this. I'll go ahead and hit map, name equals robomap. Alright? And that is how this image is using this map right here. So this ties this together with this map. Okay? So I'm going to create some notes in here so you guys can come back for reference. And I'll also do a link to a site that will help you if you guys get stuck on anything using image maps. But if you remember how to do notes in HTML, it's just like that. And then I put notes in here. There are three different kinds of shapes you can do with an image map. You can do a circle, and you can do a rectangle, and then you can do a polygon, which has as many points as you want. And we'll demonstrate all those on our map here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and go rectangle coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. Now that's not going to make any sense here in a second, but I promise just keep tracking with me. It will all make sense. So now we're going to declare an area in here. Area shape equals rectangle. But we don't actually type out the word rectangle, just rect for short. Coordinates equals, and now we have to go get some coordinates. So the reason I typed out this is to show you what the pattern is. It's x1, y1, x2, y2. Now that may not make any sense right now. That's totally cool, but I'm about to show you how to get coordinates for your image map. So I'll save this, and now I'm going to go into an image editor. You can use Photoshop or Paint. That's totally fine. I've got my image open here in Paint, and as I move around the screen here, notice the very bottom right here in this corner, I start getting coordinates for x and y. The first one is x, the second one is y. So I've got 317 and 280. Move over here, 225, 283. So I need to find the coordinates of a rectangle. Now, I think I'm going to pick this little TV area here to be a rectangle, so that when you click on this, maybe you get some information about his heart rate or something. Whatever I want, really. So the first point I'm going to grab is right here. I'm going to put my little cursor right there, and I get 207, 361. So I'm going to go back to my editor and type in 207 and 361. And then I need two more coordinates to complete this. and they're the ones down at this corner. So I'll go over to this corner right here, and I see I got 409 and 477. So I'll go back over here and type in 409 and 477. Now, if I've done everything correctly, and I go back to my browser, refresh, I should now have an image map so that when I move over this portion, do you see that? My mouse turns into a clicker. Now nothing happens when I click because I haven't made anything happen when I click. But now I have an image map there, and I grab these points right here, X and Y. I grab these points right here, X and Y, and I created a rectangle. Just like that. Okay, perfect. Let's go back to our code, and I will show you how to create a circle. And in a little bit, we'll do something with that image map. We'll actually be able to click on it and do something fun, like show some information. And I will show you how to do that. So next, let's create a circle. And I will, once again, put in a note here for you so that you can remember this while you're building out your image map. So we're going to go circle, coordinates, X, Y, and then radius. Once again, that probably doesn't make any sense now, but it will as we build this out. So let's go ahead and go area, shape equals, and for this it's circle, and then coordinates equal. We'll close that off. Now we need to go ahead and get the coordinates for a circle on our image map. So I'll go back to our, and this time why don't we use Photoshop instead of Paint, because I want to show you that you can use Paint or Photoshop and get the same information. So I'm going to go into Photoshop, and I've got my image loaded here in Photoshop just to save time. And there is going to be a box. You may not have it right here, and I purposefully hit it on mine so that I can show you. You go Window, and then navigate down to Info here. And if you hover over, you start to see all kinds of information there, including X and Y here. So I need to make sure this is in pixels. It is, but you may have had it on inches, which is way different coordinates than if you're using pixels, which is what we're using in the browser. So I put that on pixels, and then I need a circle. So why don't we go over this eye here? Okay, so a circle's a little different. I'm not going to measure the points around it. What I'm going to do is measure the point right in the middle of it. And I see that's 253 and 187. So I'm going to go back to my code and type in 253 and 187. And then I need to give it a pixel amount for the radius. And I don't know how many pixels are there. If I go back over here, I don't know how many pixels are between here and here. So I'm going to guess until I get it right. Okay, so it's pretty simple. I can just say, let's say 25 pixels for right now. I'll save it, go back to my browser, refresh, and then if I hover over this, yep, see there, I get my pointer here. But you can see I didn't make it quite to the edge, so it's a little more than 25 pixels. It's probably closer to 30 or 35 pixels. So why don't we go back to our code here and type in 35 and see if that does it for us. I'll save it, go back, refresh, and there we go. Now I have it. I have a clickable area on his eye. So that is how you create a circle. Now, at this point, you're thinking this is kind of boring. What's the point of having a clickable area if it doesn't do anything? That's a very good point. So what we're going to do now is just link to a website using this clicking area. And how do we do that? Glad you asked. So in order to get something when we click on these areas, I'm going to wrap them in an anchor tag. So what do I want them to get to whenever they click on his tummy? Well, maybe I want them to click and get some kind of page on robotics. So what I'm going to do is go find some page on robotics that I think is cool. Let's see here. Robotics Wikipedia. No, that's boring. Let's see. We can do better. Robotics edX. That sounds interesting. Let's click on that. Sure. Why not? This looks great. It's got this cool little robot thing here, touching a map. I'm going to send you guys to this link when you click on my robot here. Right there. So I'm going to copy that link here, and I'm going to go back to my code editor and put that in the href. Okay. It's getting a little busy here, so I'll zoom out. And I'm going to give this a target equals underscore blank. And as you remember, that will send us on a new tab right there. And so then I need to close it at the end of this coordinate here. I'm going to go ahead and actually nest this in here to make it a little bit more readable. And I highly recommend you nest your elements that way. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to read it when it goes way off here. And when you bug test and troubleshoot, you're going to run into all kinds of problems. So there I have this anchor tag here, and I've wrapped it around my shape here. So if we did this correctly, I'll go back to the code, and I'll refresh our page. Now, when I click here, I should be sent, yep, to this amazing robotics page on edX. Perfect. So now you know how to link something up to what you're clicking on. I'm actually going to show you even some more interesting methods. And for this eye, what I want to do is something a little bit different. I want to send you to another page that I created, an actual file in HTML. So we're going to go back to our editor here. We're going to create a new document, file new, and I'm going to make an HTML document here. And I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to copy all my code here and paste it. Control-C, Control-V. I'm going to go ahead and save as, and I'm going to call this i.html. And remember, I've got to save it as an HTML file here in order for this to work right. So it's i.html. I'm saving it in the same exact place here. And I'm going to delete this whole robo thing to get rid of that. I'm even going to get rid of this image here. And instead of this saying Robo Warrior, I'm going to call this I, and I'm going to call this Welcome to the Eye of the robot. Perfect. I'm not going to do much on this page because this is just an example. And I've got the same link to a style sheet here, so we should have the same blue background. We'll have different text there, and I'll save that. I'll go back over to this image map here, and now instead of sending someone to this page, what I want to do is I want to send them to our file. So down here on this circle, I'm going to go ahead and create another anchor tag, href equals, and this time I'm going to give it the file name i.html. Okay, target equals underscore blank, and then I'll close it off. First I'll nest that in there so I can see exactly what's going on. And what we should have here is we should link up after I refresh and I click on this eye, my page on the eye. Welcome to the Eye of the Robot. See that? So you don't have to just link up to someone else's site. You can link up to another site you created. And it's just that easy. So, and you will be doing that on your next assignment. So keep this in mind. It's very useful. Okay, so now Polygon. It's a little bit more complicated, but no big deal. I'm going to go and make a note for you guys about Polygon coordinates. If I could spell. Polygon. There we go. Oh, nice. x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, etc., etc. Okay? And that is going to make more sense in a second when we actually create it. So you know how it goes. Area shape equals, this time we're going to go poly coordinates equals, now we're going to put in a whole bunch of coordinates. And now we need to go get those coordinates from our image editor, whatever one you choose. So I'll just use Paint, no problem. So I want a polygon here. Now what's a polygon? It's an area that's not quite defined as easily as just a box. So why don't we go ahead and get the foot here? And obviously whatever image you pick, you're going to want to find some kind of polygon shape in it to follow along here. So I'm just going to go with 307 and 667. 307, 667. Go back. Now I want a point over here. I will grab 403, 654. Okay, and next I will grab a point over here, 454 and 674. Okay, almost done. And then I'll grab a point down here, 469 and 714. And I will grab a point over here now, 317 and 713. Okay, now I should have a complete polygon shape here. So let's go into our code, or into our browser, refresh, and if I hover over here, yep, you see that? I've got this clickable area here, and not outside of it, right? So that is how you do a poly shape, or anything more complex than a circle or a rectangle. Okay, so perfect. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of JavaScript, just a little bit of JavaScript, not a ton. I don't want this to intimidate you. I just want you to see that there's a whole world of code behind your browser. And there's all kinds of ways to manipulate data and do things. So don't freak out. This is not something to be scared about. If you're not into coding or it just seems complicated, just follow along and I think you'll learn something fun. And some of you guys will get good at coding and you'll just go on from here. So I'm going to create a script tag so I can write some JavaScript in here. I'm going to close it off. And I'm going to create a function. Function illumination is what I'll call it. And I'm going to pass into that function something called alt. Okay? And this is what a function declaration looks like in JavaScript. And then I'm going to go document.getElement by ID. So I need to create something with an ID, and I'm going to name it footer. And then .inner HTML is equal to alt. So the value we pass in, it's going to grab something called footer I'm about to create, and then it's going to give it the value of alt, whatever I pass into alt. This is going to make a little more sense if you just slow down with me and watch. So first of all, I need to create this footer right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to create an H1 here at the bottom of my area, and I'm going to call it, and you know what? I forgot to close this map off, so that's very important. We'll go ahead and do that. That could cause problems later, so perfect. Now I'm going to create an H1 down here. I'm going to give it an ID of footer. Perfect. I'm not going to put anything in it. I'm just going to close it off because I'm actually going to have a function put something in it. So I'm going to save that. Nothing's going to happen right now. We don't have any data. And let me show you how I can assign this function here onto our image map. So we've just created this polygon down here, and we're not sending you anywhere. We don't have an href that's sending us anywhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a function on it, onClick equals illumination. And then I'm going to say this element dot alt. Okay? Perfect. Now what this is going to do is when I click on the footer, or sorry, when I click on this polygon shape here, the foot, it is going to grab whatever is on this tag named alt. So I don't have anything on this tag named alt. If I save this right now and run it, nothing's going to happen. I can refresh this, click, nothing happens. So that's expected because there's nothing called alt on this element. So what I'm going to do is create an alt equals you touched my footsie. Okay, that's a little weird, but what else? Just it'll get the point across. So I'll save this, go back into my HTML, refresh, and when I click here, what I should get is you touched my footsie. All right, and I could have assigned that same function to any one of these and had it change when I clicked on them, and I'll prove it. We'll go back into my code. I will grab this onClick function here, copy this, Control C, and I'll put it on this I here. Control V, and then I need to get this area an alt, and we'll call this, oh, this isn't the I, this is the rectangle. We'll call this you touched my belly. Robots do not like their bellies touched. Contrary to popular opinion, they actually really don't like that. Sometimes they'll attack you with their brains and cyber race. So now when I click here, I am going to get sent to another page. But if I go back to this page, I get that message, you touched my belly. Some of you guys aren't going to quite understand what's going on in this code. That's okay, but I highly recommend you experiment with this. Test it out on your own image, have some fun, and have some fun doing this course. HTML is quite a fun language to learn and mess with. JavaScript is really fun. You can do so many cool things with it. So have a blast, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thanks a lot.